All right, welcome to episode 169 of Cowboy Shit. My name is Ted Stovin. He is Dustin Edwards, and Dustin, spring's almost here, but what is this? Is this the fourth Fool's
Spring.
Spring or the fifth Fool's Spring? Which one? Is it
We got
snowing
a
out there?
goddamn snowstorm on the horizon here tonight. The forecast is calling for snow tonight, so
Oh
spring
man.
hasn't sprung.
Well, and you were riding horses yesterday. You weren't on the rodeo trail, but you and Allie, you guys were out riding and doing some light ranching yesterday, hey?
Yeah, yeah, heavy on the light ranching part, but no, it was good. We went back to her parents' farm for the weekend and calving's in full stride. So
Yeah.
helped with calving for the weekend and rode some horses and had to sit through a dance recital. But
Oh
you know
boy.
what? They had $5 beers and little hot dog with some potato chip combos, so
Really?
it was tolerable. Had a
That's
few
decent.
Coronas and watched some dance.
Decent.
We were in the Hannah Hall, so brought back a lot of memories from
A
some
lot
charades that we've had there.
some memories of Gator wiping out on the ice, knocking
Yeah, we
himself
we
out
we
and
told that we were talking about that night. Actually, it was pretty funny. So,
oh man.
um, yeah, no, it was good. We had a nice little weekend, and yeah, I got to do a little ranching and some dance recitaling, and she's
That's
dry out there, so
in
the
Hannah.
snowstorm that's coming is welcomed. It's
We need it.
it's
Need the
it's
moisture.
ugly. It's ugly. If you're a
Um
farmer rancher, they're needing her bad.
well and then I was watching what happened? So we flew home last night and who do I see in the airport? Somebody who I had last seen in an airport, Jordan Hansen, NFR qualifying bull rider. We saw him at the airport in Dallas in January on the way home from the market. And then last night we landed in who's this guy with the cowboy hat coming through security through custom, but Jordan Hansen. So
Double
I'm
airports.
like, hey Jordy, last time I saw you was in a different airport in a different place. And we were both going different places. But anyways, he said, yeah, my flight out of Dallas got canceled. And I saw something on Facebook today. It took somebody 2 hours to fly from Dallas to Amarillo because they had to go around a bunch of thunderstorms and like tornadoes and like some wild ass weather and shit.
They're getting her
So,
bad down there. Yeah,
geez, they go from fires now to what to
tornadoes.
tornadoes and every
I
bunch of
watched a
different things.
video of a guy that was in the tornado. They were driving a train, like a train engine conductors.
What?
They were literally on the track sitting ducks, and they videoed the whole thing. The tornado went right through them,
No way. Like
and
right through the middle of the train?
yeah, knocked a bunch of the carts off, but the train engine stayed on the track. So
No way.
if you're ever in a tornado, jump in an engine.
Jump in a train engine.
Yeah,
Holy
you'll be
smokes.
fine. Have you ever been in a
Damn.
tornado, Ted?
The closest I was to one was we like drove right under one but before it touched down by like Wabaman
Oh
back
yeah.
in I don't know, we are going on the little cut across road from Drayton Valley to Edmonton. And I was like, Dad, the sky looks really green. And it's really windy outside. And like sure enough, the clouds were swirling right above us and we dodged it. I don't think it was a bad one, but weren't you close to the Pine Lake one back in the day?
Yeah, our family was camping at Spruce Bay at Pine Lake back in July of when was that? July 2000, I want to say,
Oh, really?
or 2001. But it hit at the Green Acres Resort, which is quite a ways further north up the lake. I think it's north.
Yeah.
And so some areas in that lake you wouldn't even know it had happened.
Oh,
But I think
really?
I might have told this story before. I can't remember, but I remember the day the lake opened back up. We had our boat docked at that resort, and my
At the
dad,
one that the tornado
no,
hit?
at the one where we were staying. And the day they opened the lake back up to boats in the public, I remember my dad saying, like, let's go up and take a look. And I was young, and I remember being like scared to go see it. But he said, you're gonna want to see this. Like, this will be something you'll remember. And I remember taking the boat up, and we came around past the one resort and up to Green Acres, which is not far from where we stayed back in the COVID year that we were shut down for Stampede with you
Mm-hmm.
and our crew. And I just remember it was just like the whole, because it was a hill that went down to the lake bottom where everybody was camped, and it was just like this white tin everywhere.
Really?
And I remember seeing the white tin, and I remember there was like a big propane tank, like a vertical uh, propane tank that was really tall, probably 12 or 14 feet, that was like still in place, like in someone's campsite, sitting there. And then down in the water, you could see coolers. You could still see lawn chairs at the bottom, like when you're in like the 8-10 feet of water.
Oh shit.
But like, the craziest thing was going out there on the boat and just seeing all the damage. I remember just sitting there and looking at it and being like, "Holy shit!" Like
Wow.
nature's fucking powerful.
Wow.
And yeah, like they were cleaning up the lake for that rest of that summer, and the next year people were finding docks and sunken stuff out in the bottom, and it
Oh
was
shit.
it was pretty
Holy
wild
shit.
shit. And I think like I can't remember how many people passed away in that, but it was a substantial amount. So
Well, the trouble with that one was that it happened in essentially like a camping spot. So there's nowhere for people to hide then. Would there have been like the best
no,
place would have been
there's
maybe like in the lake, like if you go in the water you might have been okay, but that doesn't seem like a
well
very
that
good
the
idea.
the tornado went right across the water, so Pine Lake's not
Oh,
very
so you're so
wide.
screwed.
So it came down the top of the hill by the golf course, came down through the campsite, down, it followed the campsite, went across the lake, and the lake's probably in that spot. It's really
300
narrow.
feet.
I would say like 1,000 yards.
Oh wow.
And then it went across the lake, and then there's another piece of land it hit and ripped all the trees up there. So that bugger went ripped right through there. And I mean, there was no smartphones. They had no way to tell people it was coming.
Oh
Hit
shit.
really quick, and like it impacted like people in that whole area, like Elnora, Delburn. They got some remnants of it, and
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it was pretty ugly. So
Jeez.
they just had no way to tell anybody. Everybody there was sitting ducks,
Yeah,
like
you're
in a
hosed.
in a tin camper.
Yeah, in a
So
camper. The worst
yeah,
possible place to be probably.
yeah. I'm pretty sure it was in like July, like in the middle of July or
Oh yeah.
first little bit of July, like July 14th or something. I remember, but pretty
Jeez.
wild. So yeah,
Huh.
and
So we're
then
sending all our thoughts to be down that way right
yeah,
now.
yeah, the tornadoes. It's scary shit, man.
Yeah. A lot of the folks listening might be from down that way, so we luckily we don't get too many of them up this way. We don't
No,
often get the weather for them.
no, and if you ever have to fly around those, I've had to fly around a few storms. You're glad you do because you get rocking through some of those big storm clouds in an airplane. It's not that fun. So when you got to go around them, it's usually it's a doozy when the
It's
planes won't
worthwhile.
fly through them. Yeah.
Is that what happened on your guys' way to Vegas? Are you looking at Allie right now? She's like, yeah.
No, no, I'm looking over at the hockey game. No,
Oh.
but it was when we had our bad flight from Vegas. Yeah, we flew right into a storm.
Oh, really?
And the pilot came on and he said like, buckle up, and he
Hang
said
on.
it's gonna get really rough. And Allie had her headphones in and she took them off and she said, "What did he say?" And I said,
Oh
"He
no.
said hang the fuck on or something." I made a smart ass comment, which I regretted immediately because about 5 minutes later the plane dropped out of the sky and people's heads were hitting
Oh
the
no
top,
shit.
and
It was that
people were
bad.
screaming. Oh yeah,
Oh
people were
fuck.
screaming and freaking out. And I usually don't get scared flying, and I
Yeah.
was I was legitimately scared that time. But
Really?
um, yeah, when we hit the tarmac, people were crying and screaming, and
Oh
one
shit.
lady, she was a few rows in front of us. She's like, "Get me off this fucking plane!"
Oh
And
really?
people were pretty excited about it. As was
Holy
I. I just
shit.
didn't vocalize my fear.
You
But
had it inside?
Gator assured me that planes can handle some pretty big turbulence, and their wings can flap,
Yeah. They can almost like
a
touch
lot.
each ends or something. I heard at one point. I don't know if that's
Yeah,
legit, but
yeah. So that
that
made me feel
sounds
a lot better.
I don't even like light turbulence, let alone going through a storm. Like
Oh
one of
yeah,
one of the craziest ones I ever had though is it was going into Dallas, and I don't know like what happened or maybe it's one of those things where they don't tell you what went down, and maybe it's normal. I don't know, but we were flying into Dallas and it was like rainy and it was like pretty rough on the way down, and I've flown through some shit before, but the lights went out. It went totally like dark. Like I don't know if we got struck by lightning and like stuff just like went off for a while and then they got the shit fired back up and got us rolling again. But like it just went dark and quiet for like a pretty good amount of time. Like it was like I don't know. I don't know if they just like turned the lights off and they like duked me out, but it was pretty quiet in the plane for like a pretty good amount of time. And
I
then
think
things kind of fired back up.
I think that does happen. Happened
So
to
they
us
get struck
flying.
by lightning?
Well, it might have just been something would happen maybe in turbulence. It happened to us flying to Cuba once, and we actually landed in another city
Oh,
because all the
really?
power went out in the cabin. So we
Oh, no
landed
shit.
in. We were flying to Holguin, Cuba, and then we ended
Yeah.
up landing in Veradero. so they could check out why the power in the
Oh no
cabin
shit.
went out.
So cube,
She was lights out.
but like with ours, they got to start it back up. But uh,
Yeah.
damn. But so did you guys just bust to the next place, or had to take off again, or what'd
No,
you do?
we landed there and they did what they did. I think we were on the tarmac for about an hour and they got her fixed and we took off and flew to Holguin, the next city.
Which can't be far. Like it was another what, 10, 20 minute
No,
flight or something.
there's like yeah, they're like two of the big north, I think northern parts, I think
Yeah,
Cuba or something. But
just south of Key West.
yeah, so
Damn.
yeah, I've been in the power failure, never fun. Never
Yeah,
fun.
I don't like flying like on a good day, let alone not a good day.
Hopefully nobody's listening to this as a downloaded podcast on a flight somewhere and we've
Yeah, it has flight anxiety.
got you worried. But I've watched
Well,
enough videos now. I've watched enough videos after I came back from Vegas specifically about like turbulence, what planes can go through. You know, you talk about like the, like hold some jello and like when you realize like that it's not that much movement, like drive
mhm.
down a gravel road or an Alberta secondary highway and you actually have more movement in your vehicle than you do when you're feeling light turbulence on an airplane. Like
Oh, really?
it's just we're so overstimulated uh, because every single person that gets on a plane, despite what they tell you, has a fear of crashing. Like it doesn't not go through any person's head when they get on an airplane.
Oh, really? That is that the
So
psychological part of it?
I guess so. So I look through and it's like yeah, like it's very rare. Plane's not going to go
Huh.
down from turbulence.
Yeah, but it still doesn't make my stomach feel any better, Dustin.
No, no. And when my asshole was hitting my brain that one time, I uh, I was questioning this theory, but
Oh dear.
lo and behold, we survived.
Well, I don't know how to transition to that. I don't speaking I was gonna say speaking of
Well, you just got back from your trip. You were in
yeah, we just
Palm
flew back.
Springs, Palm
Yeah.
Desert.
Let's get to that on the second half though.
Okay,
That's
okay,
there's some stories that are probably maybe not PG from the
okay.
second half of the there's some language that's maybe not PG. But I gotta say the coolest thing about Stagecoach was T-Pain on stage with Jelly Roll singing Should Have Been a Cowboy by Toby Keith.
Which is like I know Jelly Roll's country, but
Yeah,
it's
it's a
quite
stretch.
just quite the visual there, isn't it? And
Man. And we were like pretty far away, but it was most definitely T-Pain singing fucking Toby Keith.
that's cool.
It was wild as shit. So,
Sounds like they had to make up for the country headliner who didn't do anything very good
oh,
that night.
yeah,
A lot
Eric
of lot of
Church.
chat on social media about Eric Church's
That was a
gospel
Friday.
hour.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And some people liked it. Some people liked it, but
And then Nickelback played that night there.
yeah, we were
And
already
then
bailed out by that point.
and I seen the pictures circulating this week. Did you see the picture of Chad Kroger's shirt?
Yeah, was that at
Well,
this show?
I'm
Was that
wondering
somewhere
because
else?
it must have been recent because it's making its rounds. So the shirt
That's a hell of
says
a picture.
from Hannah, Alberta, home of Davy Shields.
Davy Shields Jr.
Or Davy Shields Jr., sorry, yeah. So I thought that was pretty neat that he was wearing that shirt.
And on the back of it, it says Nickelback.
And
So
Nickelback, yeah.
maybe we can get some Nickelback content on the show sometime here.
Yeah, yeah, it'd be cool.
We'll see.
Cool to get, maybe we can get the drummer.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Anyways, thanks for
Yeah,
tuning in this week, everybody. If you haven't listened to Cowboy Shit before, this is the kind of shit we do at the start of the show.
we just talk about shit
We talk about random
that we
shit.
were up to.
But we'll get to some more of that after the show. Our interview coming up next with Tucker Brown. Hopefully, everybody enjoyed the show. But thanks for tuning in. If you ever wonder about us talking about Gator, just go ahead and go back to episode 65, and you'll understand everything. All right. Thanks for tuning in. Sorry, I got to stop the recording, but I don't have a button close. All right, welcome to the interview portion of episode 169. That's where you guys say nice.
Nice.
Okay, episode 169. My name's Ted Stove, and he's Dustin Edwards, back for the middle part of our show. And our guest this week, he is a current sports broadcaster, the 2022 NCBA Beef Advocate of the Year. He's got like 6.5 million likes on TikTok with his different videos, 275,000 followers on the TikTok, He's got over almost 2 million views on YouTube. He comes to us from the RA Ranch in Throckmorton, Texas. He once took a jogging class in college. Please welcome to the show, Tucker Brown.
What an intro.
I had to try and top the guys from Everything Rodeo. They got the crowd noise. Like, I like that, but I had to get the acronym.
Right. Dude, the jogging class tops it off.
Oh, okay.
That's
We got to talk
hilarious.
about this damn jogging class. Where did this thing? How do you take a jogging class in school? Like, I took a class one time on the Calgary Stampede, but the jogging class has got to top it.
Oh, it did. It was. I actually just really liked the coach. He was the track coach. I did not want to run track, but just a like really God fearing man and somebody that I looked up to the way that he lived his life and had struggles that he got through, and then you would go jog like 2 miles a day and then have to take a test over your health. But you got to take basically it was a free way to take blood tests and learn about your flexibility and your I don't know, just to learn a lot about your health. And I was like, yeah, I'm in. And I needed 2 hours. I needed an extra hour, and that was a 2 hour class once a week. So I was in.
Oh, really?
And then I took it. Then I took it again because I needed 2 more hours. So
Oh, really? So you took it twice?
I took it twice. Yeah, jogging 101 and 102.
Oh, wow. That's Dustin. What's the best class you ever took in your post secondary education?
I took no lie Rockstar 101. That
Really?
was an actual class. I think there was 8 of us, and we had to form a band, shoot a music video, record a song, and then do an album release event. And that was the class.
No
And
way.
it was probably 4 or 5 years after like the movie came out with Jack Black doing the School of Rock thing.
No way.
It was a legit class. I think it was like 2 or 3 credit, and yeah, it was much better than the basket weaving class option. So
No way.
I'd take it.
So Tucker, we met at Justin McKee's broadcast clinic at the end of January in Fort Worth. I got to ask you how you ended up there. I don't remember if we talked about this yet, but like, how did you end up at a broadcast clinic like that? Like, you probably watched the Cowboy channel, get to know Justin from his rodeo announcing, but like, how did this come to be, and why'd you take it, and what'd you get out of it?
Yeah. So my family has a kind of a history with Justin McKee and through FFA. Both my parents were national FFA presidents, and so they got to know Justin through that. I think he was a state president or a state officer around the same time that, or maybe even national. I don't quite remember, but he was around the same time. And did that?
We're
Mine
good.
just froze up a little bit. Okay.
Yeah, it froze up. It froze up a little bit, not too crazy, but
Okay. But got to know Justin through that. I didn't know him very well, but since he, kind of got his claim to fame and just doing the PBR forever,
yeah,
watched him, growing up and knew that he was really talented. And as a broadcaster, just really respecting what he brought to bull riding and how he was able to tell a story. And so when I saw that he had that, I followed him on Facebook for years and saw that he had that clinic coming up, and I showed my parents. I was like, man, this would be really cool. But it was at the same time as like we were working cattle or something. It was at the same time. And but I emailed in and they were like, all right, here's the price. And I was like, oh, I just had a little girl. Gosh, we're working cows. Maybe I'll catch the next one.
mm-hmm.
But come to find out, my parents, I mean, they know that I love broadcasting and that the storytelling with Justin would just be, one of those experiences that you'd never forget. And so as a Christmas gift, they gifted that to me.
Oh, cool.
And so they gave me the days off. It was just a really pretty special gift for one that's going to, help me no matter what I do. And then get to meet a lot of phenomenal people. Whenever you're in a room like that with guys who are just committed to success, whether it's in rodeo or not, whether it's in breeding bulls like Cord McCoy or, doing what you do all across the U.S. and Canada and meeting world champion, steer wrestlers there. It just such a cool opportunity.
It was
I'm excited that you're into the broadcasting side, because that's the same journey I kind of went down. But what was the one thing out of the whole weekend? What was the one thing that you took, what a really cool tool or advice that you took from that experience?
It was really neat to learn just how. It was really neat to learn how Justin got his information and how much information he got to prepare him, even though he only needed to talk about, he would have to talk about a ride for 15 seconds. He had a network of people. He could call the guy who owned the bull. He could call some guys who were at the rodeo who watched the ride. And he would call like 3 people to be able to get the information on one ride for 15 seconds for the Cowboy Channel. And that was just really neat to see how, how important that network is. He didn't know that bull, but he knew who owned it and could get amazing information on it with a phone call. And that's really where I already knew the importance of storytelling, but watching how hard he worked to know that, it seemed like he knew everything, but then watching him learn that in a matter of 15 minutes was really cool.
That's always the one thing that's interesting about announcing rodeo, is that, you can get through a ride or a run, and the people think that guy's your best friend. You know everything about him, his wife, his kid, his horse's name. And sometimes, in fact, we really don't even know the guy, but you do the work and you tell the story, and it comes off that way. And that's what Justin's so good at. And that's really cool that you took that from that.
Yeah, and it makes it more fun for me too, because if you don't know a story, then it's purely, you don't know the bull, you don't know how good he is, but the moment, and I always lean back to football because that's where I learned in American football. But once if you knew a pass, if you knew that it was 4th and 1 at the end of the 4th quarter, then whatever play it is means a whole lot more. But if you didn't know that, then you don't know what the play meant. And so I always lean towards that, of just more information makes it more fun for me and for the people watching. And I really got the love for broadcasting on listening to Jim Nantz broadcast the Kentucky Derby. Is what he announced one with Bodemeister and I'll Have Another were the 2 horses that were racing. I'll never forget it, but really good race down to the end. And I remember getting chills, and I was like, whoa, I want to be able to give somebody chills like that, because it was such a good call that it was, I'll never forget it.
Dustin, what's your most memorable sports call in your memory?
Geez, that's a good question. I'm kind of the same way. Like, I grew up, when I was watching like TNN back in the day, and the Bud Light Cups and all those guys were on there. So I was kind of the same way, like loved watching bull riding, loved watching the NFR. When I was a kid, I had the NFR tapes. So I loved all the OG broadcasters back then. And so I don't know if there's like one that really stands out. I also was a huge hockey fan. So, there's all some of the iconic goal calls and things like that. But no, I just think of, it wasn't really a certain moment, but just the collaboration of all those guys who were, like Tucker said, the storytellers of these events. Because, at the end of the day, I never really remembered what happened. You just remember what they said, right? So I think that was something that was pretty cool for me, and that's what kind of sparked my interest in broadcasting for sure.
Man, I gotta talk about like Bob Cole in the hockey side of things. Like, he just has that iconic voice on the hockey, like the hockey broadcast. He stands out. Or like Ron McLean, we've had him on the show before. Like, he's iconic on the broadcast side of things too. But then the rodeo side of it, how do you not remember Donnie Gay and Butch Knowles Butch Knowles and Jeff Metters over the years as well.
Jeff was one of my all-time favorites. I think he's awesome at what he does, and he's a guy that I always thought on the TV side was just, there was nobody better.
Well, and then you think about Justin McKee in the years we watched him on the PBR broadcasts, what he did for so many years, and then he kind of got moved out of it. And I got to say, Tucker jump in here as what your thoughts are too, but I kind of like part of what the PBR has done by going to Craig Hummer and I got to say Justin McBride does an amazing job on the broadcast side of things now too. I love the energy that he brings into bull riding because there's some people that have and same thing with Donnie Gay. Like I like the energy, but I think it's too much. Like if I'm gonna be a critic of the way that Donnie does it, and like I don't, he's done it for years and done a great job for years, but I think sometimes it's a little too much, and it's maybe a little too inside baseball, where he's talking about things that the average rodeo fan would never know, or maybe like a part time fan would never ever know what he's talking about. Where I think McBride and Craig Hummer are doing a great job of bringing the sport to a new audience and putting it on the CBS Sports Network and on CBS on Sundays on the main network in front of millions of people, which the NFR just doesn't have it now anymore because it's on the Cowboy channel. Like it's in front of fewer people. So I look at that and I like what they've done with parts of it, and and McKee, like Justin got replaced at some point by I think like Craig Hummer and the McBrides and the some of these different guys, the right broadcast has to have a lot of the right pieces. But like I think Jim Nantz does an amazing job when he doesn't say anything. Same thing with Joe Buck and like those guys, like they're letting the crowd do the work, which I think is also incredibly important.
Yeah. So, I mean, such a good point of them not taking away from those great moments and just how fun it is to like when you can feel the atmosphere through the television and it's stolen by a broadcaster who talks too much like that. There's nothing more annoying than that. And you're right. They do such a good job of letting us feel the moment of whatever just happened, whether it was, the Masters this Sunday and winning the second jacket in 3 years or a horse race. Like gosh, they do such a good job of letting that moment happen.
That's an art. That's an art to know when those storytellers know when to come in, when to leave it, what to say in those moments, and that's why they you get those iconic calls because they know when to let it soak, and timing is so important.
What's your most memorable call of one of your sporting events, Tucker, from the work you've done on the broadcast side of things?
Yeah, probably. I got to. Well, the reason I started announcing, I enjoyed it, but my brother was playing. He was on a really good football team. We both grew up on a really good football team at home. And
is this the 6-man teams that you mentioned?
It is, yeah. This is the 6-man teams, and Throckmorton has a history of being pretty talented and always pretty good. And I got to play in some really fun games, and then be able to. I knew the broadcaster at the time, and so I would listen to the game after with him, and it was just really cool to shadow that moment. But he quit after the year that I graduated, and so nobody was announcing Throckmorton, who was like they were going to make it to state, which in Texas is a big deal. And so I jumped in there and started my own broadcast company, online broadcast company, and that paid for my fuel to go back and forth to watch my brother play. And so I got to watch them. They played the state championship in Dallas Cowboy Stadium, and I got to announce it and them winning it. And I can still one of the biggest moments was when I wasn't saying anything. Like I've never thought of it that way, but one of the moments I remember most was that just them announcing it, and then just being. I got chills right now of just being quiet, but it's really cool because it's my hometown and it's my brother, and ties to that. But yeah, for all I've done, that's kind of that first year was really hard to top because got to go to Dallas Cowboy Stadium and announce my brother winning the state championship, and then go to the Alamo Dome and announce the basketball state championship tournament. And I hadn't been back to either of those places since.
Oh, wow.
So, that first year was just, man, really fun. And now I go back and listen and I'm like, oh man, I was not very good.
that's that only advice I can give is don't go listen to old tapes because you just critique yourself so hard. But when was the very first time you actually got on a camera or got on a mic? Like, do you remember that first moment where it was like, hey, I really want to do this. This is cool.
Yeah. It actually started with just PA, just the the PA announcing at a junior high football game. I was a freshman in high school, and they needed somebody to announce the junior high football game, and that's where it started. And so I did like 3 games that year, and the next year I was like, man, I'm doing them all. And so from then on, I was the PA announcer for all of them. And I don't know, maybe my junior year of high school, I got to be on a little newscast room interview and see behind the scenes of, all the prep they were doing, and they were reading the monitor and showing the highlights at the same time. And I was like, yeah, that is cool. That's cooler than what I'm doing right now. And I haven't got to the TV side yet, but just getting to do a little bit of that at Justin McKee's thing reminded me of that day whenever I was in high school, and learning that on the backside and getting those nerves again. I mean, I've been announcing for 10 years now. I don't get those nerves like I used to, but when I do, I'm like, oh, this means I'm doing what I love. Like this means I really like it. So I love it when I get those, those butterflies.
I feel that we had the same path, except your path with football was much better than mine. Same thing. I did not grow up around football. I didn't know anything about it. We had a high school team, and same thing. They're like, hey, our PA announcer can't come. Our team was called the Wildcats. They said, Dustin, do you want to PA announce? Never knew anything about football. So every time someone was getting tackled on the mic, I kept calling it a sack. I was like, oh, number 44, sacks number 16. And finally someone came up this huge tower. It's like a huge flight of stairs. And they're like, man, you cannot call every single tackle a sack. I had no idea what I was doing. Needless to say, that was the last football game I ever announced. I was one and done, Tucker.
Oh, that's hilarious.
What's your most memorable call on the mic and the rodeo side of things, Dustin? Now I'm curious on this.
Well, I don't know if I have a particular ride or run that really sticks out, but I figure that Tucker would appreciate this. This year, we do our Canadian Finals rodeo. It airs on the Cowboy Channel, and the start of every one of our shows, the host at Cowboy Channel would set up our broadcast. And we had, for the first night of our broadcast this year, was Justin McKee. And I'm like you, I was like fanboy, and I got my in-ear monitor in, and I can hear him come on. He goes, hey guys, it's Justin here, and we're going to be throwing to here in a couple of minutes. And I'm like, oh my God. And then it goes to the Cowboy Channel studios, and he says, all right, we're going to head to Red Deer to the Canadian Finals rodeo with Dustin Edwards and Dave Paulson. And I had to go back and literally screen record Justin McKee saying my name. Yeah. So I had that video, because I was like, this is super cool. And then unfortunately, that was the only night he was our in-studio host, I think, that week. So it was like a little brief clip, but that was one of my really cool highlights from the last few years, was him introducing me. I thought that was pretty neat. So that's my Justin McKee moment right there.
That's neat. I'd take that.
Tucker, let's talk some ranching now. Maybe what do you want to get into next?
Oh, it kind of clipping from that. It was interesting because most of what I've known prior to this year was ranch rodeo rather than professional rodeo, and so learning it was really cool for me to go being at this clinic and hearing y'all talk your lingo on day one. And I was like, man, I don't know what they're saying. I mean, I knew what the events were and what went on, but getting to have guys like, I mean, there's no bareback riding in ranch rodeo. And so getting to meet Tilden and him talking about just the X's and O's of what it takes to make a good ride was really cool, and things that I may not use for a ranch rodeo. But the storytelling is still the same thing. And I feel like with ranch rodeos, maybe there is a little bit more of a story to tell, because there are 5 guys and they're all from a ranch that's been in the family for however long. And all of their families are in the stands, and it means a whole lot more to them to hear that maybe than some people who aren't there. But Justin kept saying, he was like, man, I hope this was good for you. Like, you're not learning anything about ranch rodeo. But it was just really neat for me to see the professional side of things and, what it takes to get to that level. And I don't know if kind of like rodeo in general. Ranch rodeo is struggling to get some momentum maybe, and trying to figure out how do we bring the technology and the progressiveness of making it a show and getting people to come in and be entertained, but then keeping the tradition of ranching and doing cowboy events and what it really means to be a cowboy, whether you're from Mexico, Canada, or the United States. And that's what I love about ranch rodeo, is that's everywhere, and rodeo is too. But being born on a ranch just leans me that direction.
Okay, 2 follow-up questions. Were you actually born on the ranch?
I wasn't born on a ranch, but
What kind of? It wasn't like
kind of.
You weren't born in the house. Like it wasn't one of those things where it was a full on ranch birth.
Yeah, not the ranch birth. It was about an hour away at the hospital. And
is that the closest hospital to Throckmorton? An hour?
Yeah. That's where my 2 girls were born. I mean, there's a hospital here in town, but not one for. Yeah. We are
for the big stuff,
the smallest populated county in the state to still have a working hospital and clinic.
Oh wow!
Super thankful for it, because I've had to take my girls there before. Yeah. But for having a baby, it's to Abilene or Wichita Falls, both being about an hour away.
Okay. Okay. Second follow up. Going back to the Cowboy Stadium, where did you broadcast from? Did you broadcast from like the media center, like way up top in AT&T?
Yeah, they sent us way up there, and with it being 6-man, and gosh, I was watching the.
Did you have binoculars?
Big screen. One we did, but I ended up not using them because I would just watch the big screen. And it was a one-sided football game, and our side ended up winning. So I was telling a whole lot more about our guys who I already knew rather than the other team. But
and you're the home.
Yeah,
broadcast.
I brought them.
Anyway, your fans are the ones listening.
Yeah, and I try, no matter whether I'm a home guy or not, I really do try to keep it even. And I think I do a good job. But at the end, when it gets to those close games, I tend to bleed Throckmorton a little bit.
What's the biggest blunder that you guys have had on the mic? That's another one that I gotta ask. There's got to be some gnarly ones that have happened over the years.
Oh man, mine is probably I don't know. Maybe it was the time there were the most repercussions. I mean, I think I've slipped and left a mic on and maybe said something I shouldn't have, or played an intro song that I didn't know had a word in it until it played. But
I'm guilty of that one.
Yeah, I don't know. I had some repercussions on. It was for a football game. A guy got ejected, and we had heard from the fans down below us who were very unhappy that he had punched another player. And I said that on the radio. Turns out that was not true. And the mom who was listening went ahead and let me know afterwards, and everybody else know afterwards.
Fake news.
But yeah, that was it did just tell me how important the truth was. And even though I was a hometown guy, and it was the other team who got a guy kicked out, I didn't think his mom was going to be listening. But yeah, it did teach me that the truth is important and the mic is always hot.
That's the 2 most important things in this business.
Yeah.
What's yours, Dustin? You have had to have something that went a little haywire on the mic over the years somewhere.
I think I've confused the Schmidt last name up here, which is predominant in rodeo, with the same word that's on your hat.
Yeah.
On the air. So I've done that a few times. One that I never have ever let down was
Colton Shit, Barhead, Alberta. Oh yeah. But you gotta roll on. You gotta just pretend that nothing happened.
Yeah. The other one I had was, not that it was bad, but the time I talked about the sheep on the CFR broadcast. Do you remember that?
Uh-oh. I don't recall.
They cut to the CFR arena feed, and they were doing mutton busting in the arena, sheep riding.
Uh-oh.
And it was like -40 that night in Edmonton. And we cut from the commercial, and I'm like, oh, look at these sheep out there. Man, on a night like this when it's -40, wouldn't you want to wrap yourselves around one of them? And I was thinking wool and cold and fox, and I don't know, however it came off, but my co-broadcaster Dave was speechless. And within 30 seconds, my phone started blowing up like, you want to do what to a sheep? So I've never ever lived that one down.
Oh man.
The other funny story I had, Tucker, you appreciate this being a guy on a mic, is someone brought up a sticky note to a pro rodeo I was doing in Airdrie, and they said, "Hey, we found these keys. You got to announce it." So I announced the license plate, the make and model. That this person had lost their keys about 3 times throughout the course of the rodeo. And at the end of the rodeo, when I went to my vehicle, I couldn't find my keys. Little did I know I'd been announcing my own set of keys.
Oh no way.
Performance. Yeah. So that was
That's funny.
yeah. So those are my 2 stories. So
How do you not know your own friggin' license plate, Dustin?
you know what? I was just in the moment. I was in the moment, and
Oh dear.
yeah. So that was a good one. Yeah. So Tucker, what's you've talked about basketball, ranch rodeo, football. Any other weird sports you've had to jump on the mic for? Any other weird events? Where you're like, I can't believe I'm on a mic doing this.
Yeah. Yeah. Being from a small town, and now that anybody knows I announce anything, I get to do some goat ropings. I get to do some like being the MC of a local pageant or something, just because it's really hard for me to say no. And I don't know, I like helping my hometown and being a part of the solution, and helping where I can. But those, yeah, I remember doing a pageant. I was like, as after I now like introduced, I have the fun part of introducing, and then they hand me all these slips of paper of what I have to ask the questions of the girls, like asking them the questions. I was like, what am I doing?
Well, I'm with you. I grew up in a town of 350 people. So from funerals to
Yeah.
4-H events and this and that, you're going to get asked of all of it. So we've been talking a lot about the announcing and, being at Justin's school and ranch rodeo announcing and football. And so I guess to bring it all full circle, what's the goal with that side of it? Because I'm sure after this, we'll start talking about, your ranching and your social media success and all the work you're doing there. But as far as, having a mic in your hand and bringing this all together, what's the goal on that side of it?
I'd always done it because I do have a love for media, and I love storytelling and learning how to tell a story. And, I've just always wanted to be able to be a Jim Nance of knowing every single horse, every story of whatever horse comes in the arena or the racetrack. And I feel like there's just a whole lot of power and maybe power is not the right word, but just a whole lot of influence that you can have being the one telling the story. And I feel like a lot of times in today's world, the people who are influencing and telling the story aren't telling the whole truth. And I really love finding the truth and being able to tell that. So, yeah, I started doing the broadcasting in college, mostly for fun. And it kind of caught on because there was nobody else doing it in the 6-man world in Texas. And I just got to be with my best buds and talk about football and get paid a little bit. I was living the dream, dude. Like I can get paid to talk about football. I'm in. And then some rodeos came around and I was like, I can get paid to talk about rodeo. I'm in. And so when COVID happened, none of those things, there were no football games. There was no rodeos. And I was like, oh, like, what do I do? I still have that itch for media. What do I do? And I kind of took to social media, making some skits of, my first one was kind of an off skit of what Dale Brisby does. And I love humor and being able to tell the truth through humor, because I feel like people are a whole lot more likely to listen that way. And, yeah, kind of took off from there. And now that's turned into a whole nother business. And that really itches my,
Sorry.
Oh, we're back. We're back.
You said that really itches my, and then it cut out.
That's wow, what a place to stop.
And then yeah. there was a story about a sheep, and yeah, it got weird.
All right, we're suspensefully waiting for what was itching.
What was itching? Yeah, that just social media just really itched that love for media and storytelling. And I was like, man, I don't have to go anywhere. Not that I enjoyed going to those places. I'm a people person. I love loving on people and being loved by people. And so social media was just another avenue for me to do that. And I guess 2021 in April is when I really started. I was like, I'm good at this. I've been doing it since 2012 and 13. I can put this on, and I think people will like it. And getting views and comments is a rush of, like, it feels good for me of like, oh, I'm doing what I want. Like, I want to make stuff that people like. I want to be able to say those. I want to be able to broadcast it in a way that people can like what they watch. So, now social media has taken me places that I never would have gone if I was still only announcing high school football games and ranch rodeos. Now, last year I got to go to the NFR for the first time, which was, and I didn't have to pay for it. So
yeah, what were you doing there?
Cool.
Who was it for? What was the story?
So I work with a company called Ag Gear, and that's the shirt I'm wearing here. It's a clothing line. And I went with them and stood in their booth and helped tell the story of the clothes that I like to wear and how it helps me do my job. And then that was just so cool. And I only went for like 2.5 days, and my wife flew in for 26 hours, and then we flew back. But we knew we'd always wanted to go, and seeing all that the NFR has to offer. But yeah, I got to go to the NFR. I'm about to fly to Washington State at the end of this week and speak to their beef checkoff team. And then once I started making all these videos, I found out, I think it was the Yellowstone effect, that so many people wanted to ask questions to a guy wearing a cowboy hat. And that's all it took. You didn't have to be a rodeo cowboy or a ranch rodeo or a rancher. You just had to wear the hat. And they want to know where their food comes from more than ever. And I was like, oh, I can tell that story. Like, that's what I live every day. We raise cattle. We care for them. I love eating grain-fed, prime, and high choice beef. And I was like, yeah, I can talk about that stuff all day. So now it's just really, really turned into social media and taking me places. And then going to that Justin McKee deal. Yeah, just learning more of how to tell a story to where someone can understand it and relate to it. So helpful.
Did you have it's cool that you talked about that and how that all comes full circle and that journey. Did you have, was there like one moment or one video or a certain time, in that span after COVID where it really took off for you? Because I mean, the amount of followers you have, that's not easy, especially right now. And in the media world, I mean, over 150,000 on Instagram and the amount of subscribers and TikTok is insane. Was there a moment where all of a sudden it just really blew up for you? Was there that one kind of moment, or has it been kind of gradual?
Oh, I really love cinematic videos of action. Those slow motion videos of a bronc rider, pulling the spur up the neck and the shafts going out. Like, I love that. And that's really hard to get in ranching. But when I can get those, they tend to do really well. I remember the first video that I was like, oh, I'm viral. I did it. I'm viral. That first video was my dad throwing a hula hand loop and catching a calf. It was like an 8-second video, but it was slow motion. And I was learning about using trending audio to help boost on the algorithm of TikTok. And, I can't say I don't like the word influencer, but I have to compete with all those guys who are so good at knowing the algorithm. And I was like, okay, let me learn it. And so that first video where I learned the algorithm had that cinematic shot of a hula hand loop falling over a calf. And I don't remember how, maybe 4 million views or something. And my mind was like, yes, more of this. And, but my parents on the ranch, they were like, you can spend more time ranching, checking your cows or calling bull customers. But we had a bull sale that was in April. And so come by our October bull sale, it had been clear to people that I was starting to make videos and, that awkward stage of like, are you trying to be an influencer or what are you doing? But at the sale, they were really liking it because that's when I had just started in our October sale. I just started doing stuff about beef and the health aspects of it and what we do in ranching and all. There's quite a few customers I remember coming up to my dad and saying like, "Hey, those videos y'all make are really good." And my dad, who had been heckling me on how much time I had been spending, was like, "Yeah, they are good. We need to make some more of those." And looking over at me, I was like, "Really?" So I am thankful. My family's been really open to me spending more time and learning that and being able to. It wasn't exactly 100% welcomed, but they're like, "All right, if it's like, let's see, is it going to help? Because you're spending a lot of time doing it. Try it out." And yeah, super thankful just to have that opportunity because that little slip got my foot in the door, and now, now I get paid to talk about ranching and making the cinematic videos that I love to make. So I love it.
Was the goal to start just to educate or show those videos? And at what point did you decide that you wanted to be kind of part of it as the face of a lot of your videos and almost like in a hosting capacity or teaching capacity? Was there a point where you're like, "Hey, I should jump in on this," or what did that look like?
Well, in February of 22, I was at the NCBA, the National Cattlemen's Beef Association convention, which is like the United States beef industry political voice. And I was at that convention, and they were giving away this Advocate of the Year award. I was like, "Wow, that's really cool. I wonder what it is." And so they started talking about this girl that had won it, and she was a first generation rancher from Northern California. She had just bought her first Hereford cows, and her and her husband were ranching with 12 Hereford cows, and she was showing her on social media. She was showing her life of like, this is what it's like to get into ranching. And as I sat there watching, I just kept feeling like really called out. I was like, man, this girl who had never ranched before, who bought her first cows in California, I was like, if that is our best storyteller, then I'm not doing my job. Not that I'm a better storyteller, but I have this story of being a 6th generation rancher and my family, keeping the family in the ranch and the ranch in the family, and using artificial insemination and trying to make cattle that are more efficient and more fertile, and all of this really big story. And I'm not telling it. So I just felt so called out of like, wow, this is really the direction that I could go. And so that's really when I started doing my research and looking up, the truth of the beef industry, of the health aspect, and how efficient we've become, and the direction the beef industry is heading, and all of that false information that's been told about how the cattle industry is to blame for climate change. And I was like, well, we're not the problem. Like, we're the answer to a problem. Yeah, we're the solution, and nobody knows that. And so that whole time, I just kept feeling called out of like, you are not doing your job. And so I'm super thankful for that girl from Northern California, who I know now, of like kicking me. Little did she know it, she was kicking me in the tail for not doing my job, is what it felt like.
And then that eventually was an award that you ended up winning, right? That same award, is that?
Yeah, the same award. That once I felt that in February of 22, she had won the 2021 Advocate of the Year, and so I was like, yeah, I'm going for that. And so the next year, I worked really hard towards it. And once you get to, I don't know, I was at a stage where I didn't really have a goal in social media. And once I had that goal to chase, it's just like my vision straightened out, and I had a direction to go and a reason, and it really helped me feel like I was like going somewhere finally, rather than just making videos for fun.
got thinking about this as we were talking about it, and I don't know what the dynamics are on the family ranch or how that all works, but it makes me wonder now if your social media stuff is kind of like it's kind of your own business that's a bit of a side piece now from the ranch where, we don't got to get too far much into the details, but you're probably technically a employee or a shareholder of the ranch, so you get a wage or something from the ranch, but your social stuff is kind of your own business now, which is kind of a bit of a bonus for you that you can make a bit on the side kind of thing, like when you're when you're working at the ranch too. Like it just made me think about it. Like I don't know where we
Yes,
could go with it, but it's kind of a pretty nice piece for you probably too, isn't it?
it is, and it really. I mean, 2024 has been the best year so far of finally becoming a company, um, a company that makes money, and so that rather than just spending it. But 2023 was cool because that was kind of my first profit, and then 2024 has just been really cool of what has just opened my eyes of possibilities of taking me places and earning money for my family. And but it has been difficult because now with all this traveling, I am an employee of the ranch, and it's a salary base. So whether I'm there or not, I'm getting paid, and now I'm spending more time going to announce things and speak at different events and different conferences that people want me to go to, like the NFR. And with family, it's working with. What did we lose?
So you just said working with, and then you cut out this time.
Okay.
We're getting some good ending points though.
Yeah.
Could go a lot of ways.
Working with family. Whoever says it's easy is a liar, because it's not. And it's really easy to take things personally. And I'm still getting paid the same amount, even though I'm at the ranch less and working less. And so that's been a really fine line of communication that we've had to have as a family, of how much time can I take? Do we cut my wages, or do I make it up for work at different times? That's been a really good question, because of and a really good just visual that you've been able to locate, because it has been challenging. That's been the most challenging part, because as I go places, am I working for the ranch or am I working for myself? And you can't really separate Tucker Brown and the R.A. Brown Ranch, because my social media is like, they know me as the R.A. Brown Ranch. And then it's like, wait, who pays for me to go there? Is it the ranch, or is it me, or who keeps the receipts?
Yeah, because you're kind of a an advocate for the ranch too, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's my whole story that I tell.
Yeah.
Like this is probably for me. The interview is probably for me, but in the story, there's no doubt that I'm going to talk about the R.A. Brown Ranch.
Oh yeah.
And so it's been a really hard line to walk, but we've just had to have really good communication about what I'm doing. But what I have learned is that with family, as long as there is success, like they know that I am successful at doing this, that there's typically more leeway. But if I was just spending money, leaving, not bringing anything back to the ranch, then it becomes a whole lot more harder to handle for the rest of the family. But as long as I can keep bringing free ropes or hat discounts to the Cowboys, or I can get them some Ag Gear shirts, or I can get them into places at a rodeo where they hadn't gone before. Yeah. As long as I'm able to bring value to the Cowboys and to the ranch, then there's been more leeway that way. So it's the same with my brother. He's a very talented horse trainer, and he's getting really hard to make fun of because he keeps winning. And the when because he's winning, it's a whole lot easier for me and the rest of my family to understand why he's got to go to Vegas for 2 weeks and we've got to pick up his slack. But he's winning. And so that part of success, it's a pretty good medicine. Winning is a pretty good medicine.
Well, there's got to be something to be said too. You know, I look at, you look at a lot of generational ranches and farms, all over North America where, you could be a young guy with a passion for being on the microphone and that young guy up in Cowboy Stadium calling a football game where that doesn't become an option because you have to be on the family ranch and you're almost getting to do both. You get to be that young guy with the dream of doing these things, but still having that ranch and the family dynamic on the back end of support where there's some people who, I dreamed of doing this, but I could never because I had to stay back. So it sounds like you're pretty blessed in that respect to be able to essentially do both.
Yeah, no doubt. Super thankful for that. Like every time I realize that or have a friend that wish that they couldn't go somewhere because there was cows to work and they couldn't leave because there wasn't interns or there wasn't other cowboys to take that. Like I don't look past those things, and I know that they are a part of my success because I wouldn't be able to go to those places if they weren't able to help me and support me, like you mentioned. So I don't know. God is so good to be able to help me understand that I have that support and help.
Speaking of interns, did you get Rhodey a date yet?
Hey, long story short, we did an application to go for one of our interns. Ladies could fill out an application on my social media to go on a date with one of our interns. And he's a rodeo cowboy and bull rider, but we had 988 applications.
Holy. Sounds like he had his pick of the litter.
Oh, dear.
So, he's a bull rider. He's already very confident in his ability as an athlete. And this has just made his head just go. And I tell him that every day. I'm like, dude, your head is getting so big. But it's taken us a little time to go through all 988 applications. Mm-hmm. And we are not quite, we're at about 600 right now. But it's been really fun to go through the questions. It's like, what's your birthday? Where are you from? What's your profession or what school are you going to? Where do you see yourself in 5 years? Why should we pick you? What's your best pickup line? How do you like your beef cooked? And then what's your best joke? And I don't really know what direction I want to go with this, but it got a whole lot more serious than I really wanted it to.
Oh, man.
Tucker, the good news is it can work because we had a bachelorette and bachelor on this podcast. And before I was
three times now.
Actually I met my fiance on this podcast on a dating episode.
What?
And we've been together for 5 years now. I totally hijacked it. And so tell your intern their love can be found on a podcast or
social. Awesome.
Yeah. It actually, Dustin's not lying to you, Tucker. This is really what happened. You can go back to the show and listen. So
That's hilarious.
If you want, we would do the show for you, like with you, and we could bring the ladies in, the applicants in through Zoom, and we could run through the top 10, and then
we got a formula for success here.
Yeah, we can do this if you wanna do a show. We can do a feature. We can put it on YouTube or however you want to do it, or we can work whatever you want to do. Glad to help out if you want, Tucker.
I think that would be a really good, mostly because I need to get off the hook of being the one who selects whoever it is. But I do think that would be good because there's a whole lot more people who are invested. Like, hey, we need an update.
Yeah, totally. You can't leave the people hanging.
Applications. Give me a second.
So Tucker, you're talking about your intern and stuff, and as social media becomes popular in a business and you're busy, what kind of team do you have as far as putting together, your content and videos and things like that? Because I'm guessing by how big it's become for you, that's you're not just doing it on your own.
Yeah, I've had a lot of help with either Cowboys videoing for me, or like, hey, hold this, just keep your mouth shut for about 20 seconds while I talk, and then you can heckle me all you want. But whether it was, we at the ranch, we always try to have 3 interns that help on the cattle side, and I'm with them a lot, and it's funny what people will do to like be on your social media. And so I'm like, hey, if you'll video this for me, like I'll get you in the video. And they tend to jump right on it. And some of them don't want to be a part of it, but they'll video. So yeah, I always had them, but I always did my own editing and kind of idea making. And then just in February, I made my first hire, and it was a guy named Willie Wardle. He's 25. He worked with Dale Brisby for 2 to 3 years, and just really talented at that editing aspect, and knows what it takes to. I mean, Dale has over 1 million Instagram followers and has been on Joe Rogan, and just super talented at what he does. And so Willie knows maybe not everything, but being there for 2 years has seen what it takes to get those videos right, and what it takes to treat it as a business. And so having him be a part of the team has been so helpful. Started our YouTube channel in February, and I think we're up to 60 videos now with shorts and videos, and man, he's just been super good.
And so you mentioned making a living on on this stuff now, and you only started your YouTube channel in what did you say, in
February?
So you got 60 videos since February, and you've already got almost 2 million views on them.
Yeah,
oh shit.
I do feel really confident in my ability to make good videos for TikTok and Instagram and Facebook. I know the algorithms. I know what they want. I know what the audience is on each platform. I've done a lot of studying there, and that's not Willie's strength. Willie's strength is on the YouTube, but so we've been a really good mesh of knowing what works and where, and what, he's good enough with the camera to be able to get the shot that I want. A lot of times I'll tell a cowboy, hey, here's the shot I want of me coming in, and it won't look anything like it. Having that eye is just not, it's a learned deal, right?
Oh yeah.
And so Willie, I'm like, hey, Willie, here's what I envision. He's like, oh yeah. And then he's got, which is so frustrating when it's somebody that's not, because they're trying, but they don't know. Like, they've never been trained.
They're not a pro. But
yeah.
But so if you've got 2 million views on YouTube, then you're able to monetize that. And I don't know enough about TikTok, but is there any monetization really on TikTok, like on that channel too? Do you get
there
paid
is just a little
TikTok?
bit. I think I got paid like $150 on TikTok last month. There's not much. It's over. It has to be over a minute long.
Oh.
And then, like, if you on TikTok, if you have a minute long video or more and if you get it to like 10 million views, then you'll get paid like $1,200.
Oh,
which is cool, but that's happened once, right?
Oh,
but
wow.
YouTube has not. I don't have enough watch hours on my long videos to get monetized yet.
Oh, really?
Oh,
yeah. Shit.
Because most of my views are on the shorts. Each of my longer videos gets about 2,000 to 3,000 views.
Yeah.
And I need 4,000 watch hours to monetize it, and I think I'm at like 2,800 right now.
Oh, so you're getting pretty close then.
Yeah, getting close.
Okay.
Getting close. But hiring somebody. As I was talking to my wife, I was like, yeah, I think I want to hire somebody and to help me do this. And she was like, well, when will you get paid for it? And I was like, I don't know.
It's a long-term play, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
You're investing in yourself, essentially. Yeah.
And that's
investors, possibly you.
Yeah. Yeah. But that's been the cool part, is that I've been able to make this network of people that I can ask these questions of. I can, call up Ted and say, hey, or how do I do this? Or what should I expect here? How can I protect myself from a company that wants to work with me? And having that network of people I can call who have way more followers and have been doing it way longer than me has been super helpful. Probably one of the best things I've ever done. And so I have this idea of how long it takes and being able to budget that out of, okay, it should take me this long, but if it takes me this long, then I'll be okay. And when a company calls, these views are worth this much and I can help offset this cost. So it is a business. I mean, it really is now. But I had Jess Pryles is her name. She is a Australian cook that lives in Austin, Texas. And I've done some work with her. She's really talented. And she said, she was talking, I had made a political Bud Light video that was, it was funny and it didn't talk down about either side. It was just saying what was happening. But she called and she's like, hey, you might want to take that down. I was like, why? It's really funny. I'm not like putting anybody down. And she was like, yeah, but like, are you in this for the long game or the short game? And I was like, I guess the long game. And she said, well, if you're in it for the short game, do this. You'll get a lot of followers. But 5 years from now, those big companies that you want to be working with won't be working with you because of your one video that you made back whenever. And so that really changed my view of what I was doing of like, oh, holy cow. And this video will affect what partners I get 10 years from now. Yeah. And so that's really when I started looking down the line of, okay, I do need a podcast. I do need a YouTube if I'm going to be playing the long game.
I read something, and correct me if I'm wrong, when I was kind of looking you up earlier today, that said that, and I can't remember what the quote was or how you said it, but you're not really you're trying to reach people that aren't in our industry and business. I thought the number said like trying to reach 98% of the people I'm trying to reach aren't ranchers and rodeo people. Is that kind of accurate? And it's funny because, you know, in sports, you know, when I worked in hockey, when we post something on social, I want that to land with hockey fans and fans of our team and fans of our league. And you're kind of trying to do the opposite in a sense.
I am. And that's been a really different approach than most in the Western industry I've taken on social media. Because, you know, a lot of the time as agricultural cowboys, Western rodeo, whatever, we're super proud of who we are and what our culture is. And for a reason, like we've done some really neat things over the history of our nations. And so we do have something to be proud of. But, you know, with only 2% of people being on a ranch or raising food, or I haven't added in rodeo in there, so it may be like 2.5%. I don't know, but it's not many that are in in our industries. And so if I'm trying to reach our consumer, like that 2% that's already ranching, they're already eating the beef. I don't need to tell them how safe it is or how good it is or how much I care for my cattle. I may for my bull sales, like selling bulls, but the 98% that I'm trying to reach know nothing about it. And so making those videos to where they can understand I was like, whoa, I got to shift my mind of what words do they understand? What trends are they watching? What do they think is really neat? And it helped me. I went to a private school in the Panhandle of Texas, and that was about 2,000 students in college. And in the Panhandle of Texas, I was like, man, everybody's going to know where cows come from. But from a private school aspect of not an agricultural school, there was very little knowledge of the ag industry. And so for 4 years, I was just submersed in this culture that was kind of separated from ag. And now that's the goggles I look through. What questions did they ask me? What did they think was neat? What did they want to see? Because somebody in the industry doesn't really care how I saddle my horse or what my horse's name is, but the other 98%, they think that's pretty neat.
So how do you capture those people? Because if I think about scrolling through my Instagram and I know Instagram feeds me things I like. So when I'm scrolling, I'm getting rodeo clips, I'm getting hockey clips, lots of sports, golf. But, you know, if something with a cowboy hat pops by, that's just whatever, I just keep rolling. I'm used to seeing all that. So how do you stand out differently? Like, do you have a strategy behind that so you can get to those people or capture them quick enough to watch it? Because I'm guessing it's like the billboard effect. When they say you drive by a billboard on the highway, you have, a fraction of a second to catch somebody's attention. So do you kind of strategize the way you do your content based on that?
Very much so. I do. I do still make videos for that 2% because I know they're watching. I know that I still need that foundation of I am still a cowboy. I do know, EPDs and what it takes to make a good bull and using in vitro fertilization and buying yearlings and putting them on wheat. Like, that's not stuff that the 98% understand, but they can learn if they go to my page. But where I have most success reaching that other 98% is, like, I'm going to make a video here soon about the Masters. And that has nothing to do with cowboying, but I'm going to make it have something to do with cowboying. I'm going to say, I'll probably do something like put a sorting flag in the middle of a cow pie and put a golf ball at it and say, when you want to be watching the Masters, but you're having to check cows. But so somebody who has been watching all the Masters stuff using the Masters sound, and then that pops up and they're like, whoa, cowboying's still alive? That's a thing? And so I'm reaching out to these other niches of golf, of football, of basketball, of music, and using their trends and then twisting that towards ranching. So it's a golf video that's about cows rather than about golf. And that's been the best way. That's where my viral videos come from, because it's different than any of the other videos out there. I think that really helps. But that's where I get most of my 98% crowd, is by using those trends, learning rather than trying to get them to come to me. I always make my videos go to them.
I love it. I can already hear the Augusta piano song playing in the background as you go to that cow pie. That's golden. That's really cool. Have you had, talking about that 98%, have you had any moments, and I'm sure you have, where people have come up to you, recognized you, or messaged you saying, hey, I knew nothing, didn't understand this world, but because of you, I now do? Is that starting to happen yet, or has it?
That's just starting to. Most of the time when I get talked to about my social media, it's at a cattle like a cattle convention, and it's typically men who are about 50 to 70 years old. Like, that's who talks to me the most about it. And the ones who like it the least tend to be men that are about 40 to 55. And I'm not sure why. I had one person tell me, like, well, those old guys went through some rough times of people not liking beef, and they've seen it fall, people separating, and the next generation hasn't seen it like they did. That's the only thing I've ever come up with. But a few times in like an airport, which was kind of fun, of just being like, hey, you're the Tucker Brown guy who runs on a horse, or you're the beef guy, Tucker Brown. It's like, oh, somebody is watching.
That's cool.
It was pretty cool.
Go ahead, Dustin.
I was just curious on what's your highest viewed video, or what's the number of your highest viewed video?
So it's a video on TikTok. That was really loud. A video on TikTok that is.
Is it the one with your dad doing the hula hand?
That's got a lot, but it's not the top one. The top one is one of releasing a stud. It's not even of me.
Oh yeah, that was neat.
It's just releasing the stud to his mares. And what I have learned is if you put a horse in it, that the crazy horse ladies will let you know that you're not a cowboy or not a horseman.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Oh,
but
no.
What I do love is I didn't do very well with some of the hate that I would get. And a guy told me, he was like, well, who hates on you the most? And I was like, most of the people outside of agriculture.
Horse school Karens.
And he was like, well, who are you trying to reach? And I was like, people outside of agriculture. And he's like, so if you're getting hate, you're reaching the right people. And that just changed my whole mindset on it, of knowing that, okay, if I'm getting hate, then that's really where I need to push more, because those are the people I'm trying to reach. But I think it's at 12.
I watched
12
your
million.
video of 12 million. Wow. It's a big number.
I think that's what it's at.
So you made $1,200?
Yeah.
That, unfortunately, okay, it's at 11.3 million, but I posted it multiple times. I think altogether it's really close to about 20 million views.
Oh, wow.
But that was before they paid.
Oh, of course.
They got it for free.
Yeah.
What'd you have, Dustin? You had something else too.
Oh, I was just talking about, yeah, like it's funny because I think I clicked on a video. We were talking about AI, and there was someone standing in there, and you had the glove, and there's just all those little things where it's cool that you can bring humor into that education. And like, yeah, if you were someone that didn't know that was a thing, it's educational, it's fun, so it's cool that you've gone that angle. It's pretty neat.
And that's really where I think most of kind of like that golf video I'm going to make. Like there's humor in it, and my hope is they don't know they're learning something until it's over, because I'll sneak something in there at the end that talks about the ranching industry, and or maybe it's like I'll probably make it about how we read cow pies to see how healthy our cattle are. And at first, all they're going to see is the golfing, and he's golfing into a cow pie, haha. And then I'll talk at the end, or in the kind of the middle end, about how I'm reading that to see how healthy my cattle are. And that edutainment is what I like to use. Like I hope they're so entertained that they want to watch it, because so many in our industry just try to go, did you know that cattle are the actually solution and not we just get so proud and puff our chest out. And if somebody did that to me who thought very different than I did, like, I'm not listening. I'm putting a wall up. If somebody voted way differently than me and started trying to educate me, like, gosh, I hate that word. And then we turn around and try to do the same thing and wonder why they don't listen. And so
you said and so, and it cut out this time.
Cliffhanger.
And so I've found success in getting people being more willing to understand or listen by using humor with it.
Well,
and then I have fun doing it too.
I've got an idea.
Such a good comparison to that. Sorry, I was talking about Dale Brisby. Like, from a rodeo person, I remember at the start, I'm like, man, this is so hokey and like so cringy. But do you know what? I haven't seen anyone else with a cowboy hat on, Joe Rogan, telling the story about being a cowboy, or them pop up on Netflix one day with a series going, holy man, our world and our way of life is getting promoted, and there's no one else at the face of it right now but this guy who at first I'm like, oh, this is cringe. I mean, I know he wrote Bronx and it is a real deal, but I just thought this is interesting. So when you said the word, what'd you say? Edutainment. That's a great word.
Yeah.
So I mean, I feel that's probably in the same category as what someone like Dale did. So
yeah, and seeing the success from him, really drove me. I'll steal the game plan of what somebody else is doing if it's working. If there's a influencer that maybe I don't necessarily like the videos they make, but they're really good at making people watch. Wow, what do they do? What do they do in their video that gets people to watch, and how can I add that to mine? So I feel like a lot of times we let pride get in the way of being like, well, Dale is so cringy. I mean, I think a lot of us said that at the beginning, like, oh, that's so cringy, or that's so dumb, I would never watch that. But being able to watch his success, like we talked earlier, success is a pretty good pill. And so just seeing that, I was like, oh, I could use that. I can use the same humor and then make it ranchy rather than rodeo-y. And it tends to work well. And I love listening to comedians, and two guys I really like to watch. They're kind of like they're comedians who are Christians. They're not necessarily Christian comedians, but Trey Kennedy and John Christ are two guys that I really like to listen to and to watch. and to learn how they use their humor to call things out in the church way, where people are more willing to understand and listen. I don't know. I love learning how people can communicate better, because if my words can influence how somebody, votes or thinks of our industry or eats or chooses my business, chooses to do business with me, why wouldn't I want to be better at that?
I've got a question about the cow pies. And if you're going to do some edutainment on that, could you read a cow pie like a horoscope and kind of make it like a make
Yeah.
it that way? Would that be fun?
Yeah, you could. Yeah, it would. I'm going to have to learn about horoscopes, because I don't know much about them.
I can tell by this one that you're a Taurus, and that your April is sure to be full of eclipses and full moons.
Yeah.
And then in modern day, you just got to get on with the Swifties, and then it'll really catch on. So,
well, one of your best videos is
Swift.
Yeah, one of your best videos is your family with some T Swift on it. Your wife and kids.
Yeah, people. I had a couple people like, I didn't know you were a Swiftie. I was like, I'm not, but the girls who are going to watch this and like it are.
Yeah. That's just being on that stuff. Well, it's been super cool to kind of hear about your journey, because you're kind of at like there's people who've had success for a long time in social, and there's people that are just getting started, and you're kind of right in that cusp of it really continuing to take off, and you've already had some success. So it's cool to hear your strategy and how it all comes together, because it's easy to jump on and look you up and watch some of your videos, but it's really neat to know the man behind it and the reasons and the why. And I think that's been pretty cool to discover here today.
Yeah, I appreciate it. It's always, I always really respect good questions, because that makes it so much easier for me. So it's clear that y'all know what you're asking and what you're trying to get. I always love that. That's what I loved about Anthony Lucia, was that he wouldn't tell me what questions he was going to ask at that San Antonio Ranch Rodeo, where I was just in front of the whole crowd. And I was like, "What are you going to ask?" He's like, "I'm not going to tell you." I was like, "Oh, well, what if I mess up? Like, it's live." But when you can have somebody asking the questions that just, touch that button that's about their passion, like I just love really good interviewers, and I thought that about y'all today. Just made it super easy for me to talk about the things that I love, and really easy to enjoy. So thanks for having me on.
Thanks for doing this, Tucker. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Is there anything else we want to get to? Dustin, go ahead.
Well, I'm just going to keep you on speed dial for next time I'm asked to do football, and I'm not going to call every tackle a sack, but or if there's any odd sport, you're our guy, because you've kind of done rodeo and basketball and football.
Yeah,
I think
goat roping.
I want to say it was Craig. Was it Craig Hummer? I met him at New York at the PR
Ironman.
You were there.
Used to do Ironman stuff.
And didn't you do like downhill skiing at one point? And like,
he did. I heard him on an esports broadcast somewhere randomly. Like, I was flipping through channels on the TV, and he was doing freaking esports.
So yeah, if there's one thing that we can take from this, Tucker, as fellow announcers and broadcasters, is do anything and never say no to any sport or any opportunity, right?
Yeah, that's the truth. Because it is funny which ones will get you there. For me, it's tended to be the ones that don't pay very well have kind of gotten me to the places that do.
That's the journey.
Well, so going back to that though, what is it that you're making the best living at right now? Like, is it it's not YouTube. I thought it would be YouTube a bit. That should pay off in another month. You'll get the hours for that, I would think, based on your numbers so far. Maybe less than a month, but that'll pay a few bucks to help pay for your videographer. But then, like, it must be appearances and speaking and a few kind of non-direct social things. But the social thing, like I was explaining to it early on, is it's the top of the funnel. A lot of people know who you are from social, and then after a while they'll work down the funnel to purchase things from you that you actually make the living at, right? Or make maybe a revenue out of some point.
Mostly in social media, the thing that pays the most is the partnerships with companies like Ag Gear. That didn't start out as a paying gig. as they were a startup company, but I'm kind of playing the long run of a company that I believe in. But now I'm working with Ranch Fuel, which is a new, like a low calorie energy drink, and being able to work with these companies, and they want your name tied to their brand. And I work with some other companies. I work with a boot company.
Yep.
I work with a boot company. I work with like a pasture care company, and that's been interesting to learn the different, like, corporate companies. Working with them has been completely different than working with a
Startup.
hat company that I work with. Yeah, with the startup. Mm-hmm. And so all of that's been, as a businessman, trying to figure out where that line is of how much is this worth to them, and then it's a whole different value to this other side. And learning that's been really cool. I don't know, that keeps me going whenever I can open a new door of, wow, I don't know anything about this, but here's the guy, here's Ted that can teach me a whole lot about it.
Oh yeah.
So just every time that's happened, whether it's been with announcing or social media or YouTube, did those different aspects, finding that person that I've built a bridge with through friendship or meeting them somewhere has paid off largely. Calling them and saying, hey, so I'm starting a YouTube, and what should I watch out for? What camera should I buy? What do I expect? Just those questions, being able to have those answered has been worth a whole lot for me. But the speaking pays pretty well, but most of what I make comes from me posting about an animal health product or an energy drink or things like that. But in the long run, I do think it will be a podcast and YouTube that would be. And I sell some beef too, and most of my buyers find me on social media.
Okay,
and that's been some good stuff too.
Well, and I forgot to look on the website, but are you guys doing much of the D2C, D2C on your beef on the internet? Like, is that much of a thing?
Yeah.
Or is that kind of difficult to do, or what's the story there?
It is difficult. I started it in COVID, about like everybody else did in my part of the world.
Yeah.
But it's just kind of taken off here at the end of 2023, beginning of 2024. And I don't ship any because I live in the boondocks. If I were to ship, I would have to drive 75 miles to ship it. And that doesn't pay very well. But if I ship it from home, if I do 2-day shipping, it's 3-day. If I do 1-day shipping, it's 2-day. Because by the time it leaves me and then goes 75 miles, sets overnight, and then does the 2-day shipping.
Yeah.
There's just way too many hands for me to feel comfortable sending somebody my product.
Yeah.
That has a shelf life, a very short shelf life in a pickup that doesn't have AC, and it's 110. It just doesn't work very well. So most of what I do is by the half and by the whole, and in the Metroplex areas, I just sell them about 2 or 3 at a time and sell those halves. And it's not the best customer service, and I know I'm missing out on some sales, but it's been the way that I can make it work.
Sorry, Dustin, you got something else?
No, I'm all good.
Okay, well then I gotta say that I think that it's really cool that you get to do cowboy shit every day that you want to do it. And that really leads me into the last question of what your definition of cowboy shit is, Tucker.
Oh, that's a good question.
Every guest has to answer it, by the way. So
yeah. Most of the time I do my homework and find what's at the end of the podcast so that I do have an answer, but I was not as prepared for this. Man. Cowboy shit, I just feel like, cowboy shit, I just feel like it's like whenever I feel that moment is whenever I'm with some of my best friends and we just did something that most people wouldn't know is hard, or like that the cow was supposed to win, but that the Cowboys freaking won. And that's whether that's having won get on the neighbors, and it's real brushy. And when the Cowboys win, when the odds are against it, that's Cowboy shit, and Cowboys win. That's what I think of. I don't know if that's a very good definition, but that's the moment that I'm trying to capture.
When
That's a good answer.
Yeah, I like it. Thanks for doing this, Tucker.
Yeah, really fun, guys. It's neat what y'all have, and proud to be number 169.
Top selling lot at the spring beef sale. Lot number 169. All right, thanks for tuning in once again this week, and thank you to our guest Tucker Brown. That Dustin, that was a lot of fun. I enjoyed hanging out with Tucker. Like I said, back at Justin McKee's broadcast clinic back in the wintertime. But appreciate Tucker doing the show with us, and it's officially May.
Hopefully our paths cross with Tucker and we can do some on a microphone one day. That'd be cool.
100%.
Been enjoying following his social and stuff since the show kind of came about, and yeah, he's a good follow.
100%. 100%. So Dustin, it's May now.
Yep.
We got a show coming up. Actually, we got to make sure we mention this to folks. Hoy Lars Memorial PBR with Core Blund, May 10th at the Brooks Regional Arena. And like I said, PBR, Corb, May 10th. It's a Friday night. If you're anywhere near Brooks, come check it out. Tickets are available. Will be available at the door and also Eventbrite. So myself
Check
and
it out.
Dustin gonna be at that one coming up here soon. Getting a lot of the details dialed in still here and getting things finalized. But it's gonna be a dandy of a show.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun. Nice arena, nice junior hockey rink.
Yeah.
They got Brooks Game 7 tomorrow night, the BCHL playoffs.
Oh, it's Game 7 of what? Of the
Game
first
7
round?
against Okotoks. So
wait, they took them that far, so it must be like
Yeah.
evenly matched this time, or what?
yeah, really good. It's good to see some competition. So
Really?
we'll see. We'll see what the mood is in Brooks when we're there for the PBR.
Oh,
If you're a
geez.
Brooks
Well,
Bandits fan.
if they win that, they'll for sure be playing into the next week, I'd imagine.
Yeah,
'Cause they're
they
gonna have to go
play
play BC back.
Sherwood Park.
Oh, Sherwood Park.
Yeah,
Dang.
Sherwood Park's waiting for the winner. So
How many games did they win in?
for Sweat Blackfalds.
Oh, really? So
Yeah.
then now, so this is the South, and then they go to the North, and that'd be the
Yeah.
Alberta final.
That'll be the Alberta final
Oh,
for
really?
the BCHL for the British Columbia Hockey League Alberta final.
Wow. Is that kind of dumb, the whole thing that went on
Oh,
there?
yeah.
Like, it seems goofy.
We'll have a whole podcast on my thoughts on that.
Okay, save it for another day. Okay, well, yeah,
Let's talk
make sure
about
you get
some
your
really
tickets,
cool
folks.
shit.
Yeah, you go first.
Well, let's talk about your trip.
Yeah, so Stagecoach. So our friend Amber Williams, she does a lot of the work for the Ponoka Stampede website, a lot of the social, all the social, just like program and just tons of stuff. If you need anything done at the Ponoka Stampede on the on the media side of things, Amber does a really awesome job. But she invited us down. She's like, "Hey, do you guys want to come down to Stagecoach?" We're like, "Yeah, like of course, if we can come hang out with you, Amber, that'd be awesome." So we met her down there at the show, and of course, as a golf guy, got some golf in. Would recommend pretty much probably any course down there, but I really enjoyed the PGA West. I played the dunes course and the mountain course. The mountain course is a head and shoulders above the dunes, but the dunes is still really nice too. Anyways,
There's 3 courses at PGA West, right?
oh man, there's like 6
4?
or 7. There's a Greg
there?
Norman course too,
Oh, yeah,
a
Greg
Nicholas
Norman.
course.
I played the Nicholas course.
I think there's a private Nicholas course. There's the stadium course. Like I said, the dunes and the mountain. Like there's a ton. There was
They're
2 at this location we were at, like the mountain and the dunes course. But then, like I walked there from the place we were staying. I lucked out. Like I had no idea that those courses were there, but just got totally lucky that that's where they were. And I literally put my clubs on my back and walked over. So really enjoyed that. Even shot pretty well yesterday. Made some putts. It was fun.
Let's
But-
talk about the sights and sounds of Stagecoach. More specifically, the sights.
Man, I've never seen so many butt cheeks in my life. There was like short shorts everywhere, and like I don't know, it was wild. There was so many people. So I got to look at the I gotta look quick at the Stagecoach attendance,
So you've
but
been to Big Valley Jamboree, you've been to Calgary Stampede, you've been to St.
yeah.
Tite. Is it like a combination of all this, or is it even like way beyond that?
Oh man, I don't know. So let's look at what this says. 75,000 attendees. Sellout crowd in 2012. 80,000. How many people attend Stagecoach? Of 80,000 people. That doesn't even seem right. Oh, 80,000 people per day. Okay, that makes sense. So Coachella draws an average of 125,000
And
attendees
it's on the
daily.
same site, right?
Yeah,
Coachella and Stagecoach, yeah.
so it's the Empire Polo Club. So there's like a ton of like there is a ton of space
And
there.
it's in Palm Desert?
Indio.
Oh, okay.
So Palm Desert is what? Straight south of the airport. And
Yeah.
then like we stayed at Paseo at one point, and then we stayed at La Quinta, and then the thing was over at Indio. But anyways, man, so I know that the Stampede is massive, and getting around and getting by people, like getting around like the main areas of Stampede is crazy, you know? Um, but this one, I guess, like I don't know if I was overwhelmed because of the amount of people and just like not being on the back side of it. Because like usually we're on the back side of things and we kind of know our way around. And like we've been to Stampede for enough. Like I've been to Stampede enough now that the scale of it doesn't feel as crazy. Like
Significant. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, like it's still majorly significant. And like what there could be like 170,000 people on Park at Stampede in a day, right?
But you can navigate it.
But I can navigate it and it doesn't feel overwhelming, and I don't go out in the amongst the people if I don't have to. And there's ways around it. But this one, it just felt like there was people everywhere, and it was just no way around things. And like the difference, I would say with the Stampede or Stagecoach, crowd wise, was it seemed like there were very few walkways. Like it was pretty open at times, but then on the way in and out, there was like only a couple specific ways, and you had to walk like a really friggin' long ways to get into an Uber. So it was a long ways out there, and then it took a long time to get an Uber, and then there's people trying to sell you a ride the entire way up and back, people trying to buy your wristbands, people trying to sell you shit, like just like no, it felt like no rules. Like Stampede, there's like a very specific, what it's $20 to get on Park.
Yeah.
People aren't walking through the thing trying to sell you a ticket to the rodeo because it's if you want to take the rodeo, you go buy a $20 standing room ticket. You go to the rodeo.
Yeah.
Same thing with Chuck's, right? Like there's no end on like people that can go. If you want to go, you can go, right?
Yeah.
If you want a seat, you got to buy it. But the biggest event at Stampede is probably the Chuck wagons, right? For attendance,
I think so, yeah.
right? So you've got like what 20, 25,000 maybe, or maybe it's like 18. Like I don't know the actual number,
Yeah.
but that's the biggest crowd in one place is like the 18,000. Maybe there are the 25 or however many it is, right? Like it's a large amount of people. Um, I should look at this actually to be official.
We need
Stampede.
the official numbers because everything we say on this podcast is accurate. It's to the
Yeah,
historical accuracy, it's to the number accuracy,
we need
and
to
we
know
would
this
not
shit.
deviate now.
We need to know this shit. Um, so the Stampede says like, it's not really telling me how many it is. So they're saying like 130. I think the biggest number I ever saw was 1.7 or 170,000. But anyways, the biggest crowd at the Stampede in one place is like the 20, say 25 on the high end, between the tarmac and the grandstand and the infield and whatnot. Where this thing was 80,000 people, but they're all at the fucking concert. They're all in one place. So the amount of like people just on top of people on people on people, like unbelievable. The actual event space that's like 80,000. It's like going to a football game that's on the ground, and everyone's on the same. Like there's no
Yeah,
height.
there's no elevations.
Yeah, right. There's no seats. There's
Yeah.
no bowl. It's just flat on the field. So it's just
So
the
how's the
scale
sight
of it.
lines from the back?
Oh, terrible.
The
You can't. There's
screens?
screens are humongous, and the stage is probably 200 feet high. Like it's crazy high. And there's speakers every like, you know, 300 or 400 feet all the way back. Like it's I don't know how big that grounds is, but it's so massive. So to have like 80,000 people in one place was crazy. And then trying to get in and out of there, like people are all on the same schedule. Where Stampede, everyone's on different schedules,
Yeah, there's
except for
different
maybe
events going on,
right, except for
different
maybe
places to
after
go.
yeah, after the fireworks at 11 maybe, but then you still have people at like Nashville North and at the Cowboys tents and like on
What
Park
was
and at the Midway, like it's all spread out. Where this one was like everyone's there to see Post Malone on Saturday night or Eric Church singing his gospel music, which one like some people might have liked it, but it wasn't expected and there wasn't explained before. So
I read a lot of
you know.
people left and they were pretty upset with it. And I
Yeah.
heard Posty was good. I heard he did a lot of country covers.
It was all country covers. He didn't do any of his
Yeah,
own songs, not even
yeah,
one. And
yeah.
I thought that was super neat to see him do that. And then like brought up Brad Paisley on the stage with him, Sarah Evans on the stage with him. Who else did I say? I forget, but he had like 3 or 4 different like legit country artists. Dwight
That's
Yoakam was
cool.
up there with him.
That's cool.
He sang Three Wooden Crosses by Randy Travis. Like
Oh, that's
just
badass.
random shit that I would have never thought he would have sang. Like it was just really wild.
That's super cool.
So I really enjoyed the crossover. And then I think Wiz Khalifa was there on Sunday night. Like I don't know what he played. I missed Nickelback. Like I wanted to see Nickelback, but I couldn't pull it off with the like how big the days were and trying to get around
Yeah.
everywhere. Like it was crazy. We waited like it took us like 2.5 hours to get back to the hotel after the show too. Like
What was the food and beverage like on the site?
that actually was pretty good. Like if you want to get a drink, it was easy to do. It was eight,
Affordable?
$18 for one shot of tequila, like
Holy shit.
$24. But I mean that's the same at most any event. Like I mean
That's true.
going to
Go to an Oilers playoff game and
yeah, $700 for a ticket, I think, or something crazy. So
insanity.
anyways, but yeah, there was butt cheeks everywhere.
Was there
Just
nudity?
no, I didn't see any nudity.
No.
Not
Okay.
that I saw.
I think
Except
that's
one
more
girl's
I think Coachella they paint themselves.
oh
That's more
really?
of a thing there, yeah.
There was one girl that had her skirt blown up in the wind. She was pretty liquored up and luckily she was wearing underoos. But anyways, it was a wild time at Stagecoach and ton of people. But yeah, it was neat to see and like to
Would
see that
you
crossover stuff was wild.
would you recommend if someone hasn't been to check it out? Is it one of those things where you'd be like, you know what, if you haven't seen it, you gotta go, or
Oh, I would say so.
would you go
And
back?
I gotta say too, yeah, I think I would go back with the right concerts and the right setup. Like I think what I would want to do next time is have like I think it'd be really handy to have like a camp area there, so you don't have to go screw around and get there back and forth.
Is there a
Like
lot
I
of
don't.
camping?
It looked like there was lots of camping there. Yeah, it'd be
Okay.
obviously be loud as heck, like to be close by, but that's earplugs and whatever to make it work. I think we really need to see like the backstage area of that. Like I'd love to go on a production tour of that to see backstage and like all the infrastructure to what they do to make it happen.
Well, it's like Big Valley Jamboree when we used to get to camp right
Yeah,
behind the stage for the bull
yeah,
riding, right?
that's a totally different experience,
But like,
right?
but obviously quite smaller scale. But you're not out in the mix, right? You're kind of
Yeah. Or my uncle took us backstage where Brad Paisley was walking on stage and like was on the stage for
oh yeah,
Corb's
that was your
show and
uncle,
like
the tour bus
Uncle
driver, right?
Don.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Don. Yeah,
Yeah. So like so that's a different experience, right? Like we get privileged to go with what we get to do at these shows a lot of times. So
yeah.
anyways, yeah, I would go back and check it out. I'd love to go like connect with somebody that was part of the show and see more of that side of it. And then not have to like fight the traffic in and out the whole time or maybe have some more mushrooms or something to keep me awake longer. Or like I don't know. Might need some performance enhancing substances to make that one work better. But I didn't want to become an international criminal going across the
That's
border.
which yeah.
Could happen. So, anyways, man, yeah, it was good. And then I don't know what happened on the rodeo side of things this weekend, but I'm
Well,
sure.
there was
But
a gator was at Coleman,
Kananaskis, yeah, Coleman.
and we had Tabor rodeos going on,
Yep.
and that's about all I know.
And they both happened. So
They both happened.
awesome.
There was winners and there was losers, and
On to
looked
the
like
next one.
Coleman had full crowds. Tabor had full crowds, so it's good to see that these rodeos are filling the stands again.
Oh, good. Well, hopefully
Kind of
we
where we
fill 'em up
left
in
off
Brooks.
last year. Yeah,
Hopefully fill 'em up in Brooks too.
yeah. Come
Um,
join.
Go ahead.
Yeah, come join us in Brooks. That's all I had.
Yeah, come check it out. And then make sure to get your new cowboy shit stuff, cowboyshit.ca. Got some brand new items that just hit the website. And
The new stuff's great, by the way. The new stuff's
glad you
awesome.
like it. I gotta get you guys some new stuff too. So
Yeah, and the ad
we'll get you
breakaway.
yeah, exactly. We'll get you set up for before Brooks. But anyways, thanks everybody for tuning in. Thanks again, Tucker Brown, for doing the show. Thanks, Sean Morton, Claire Sunchins. Appreciate everybody's hard work and keeping their going, Dustin. Thank you too.
Yeah, we'll see you soon, Teddy boy.
All right, catch you all in a couple weeks.